epic round of boxing. And on this very special episode, we will talk about a fight that has been all in the above. A little bit cringe being talked about, highly expected as well from a lot of people over the years. We'll talk about the kind of the fairness of this fight. The fight is Conor the Destroyer benn versus Chris Eubanks Jr. Their fathers fought. It's a kind of sins of your fathers fight. These two, the kind of cool thing about this fight is that they are both kind of a little bit alike to their fathers. Benn hits very hard, just like his father did. Although his father really couldn't like box so well, Benn can box a little bit. He's still young and wet behind the ears and has things to learn, that's for sure. But a little bit better setups than his dad. And also just keeps that, hits hard and wants a war all the time as well. Doesn't necessarily sit back and wait for his shot. He wants a war. He wants to walk you down. He wants to be moving forward. That is very much like his father. And Eubanks Jr., also like his father, in the sense that they both got a little bit of a chin on them, so they can take a shot. That's what made the first fight so fun. But a little bit more slickness, a little bit more boxing ability, counter punching, things of that nature. Eubanks a lot like his father in that way. And this fight could play out similar to the two fights that were had by their fathers together when they shared the ring in 1990 and in 1993. Now, here's the catch though. Conor Benn's a welterweight. He's 147 pounds. And he's not an enormous welterweight there. He's big and he hits real hard, but he's plenty big enough and hits real hard, but he's not considered like, oh my goodness, look at the size of this guy. Meanwhile, Chris Eubanks Jr. Is fighting, 20 pounds up in weight now. He's coming down to 157, and Conor Benn is moving up to 157 as a catch weight. But that is a big discrepancy in size, a big one. Sometimes we talk about, like some high school blonde girl, size matters, right? So sometimes we talk about the size difference in fighters that are fighting in the same weight class if one is naturally a bit bigger. This is a 20-pound discrepancy here. 20 pounds. So for Eubanks to move down and Conor to move up and meet at 157 sounds fair enough, but in all reality, this will be a lot harder for Conor Benn to do. Obviously not the weight cut things and whatnot. He's just going to be able to eat, continue working out hard, and he's going to be able to eat a lot of carbs and stack his meals on top of one another so that he can put on the pounds properly. He's just going to be able to pretty much eat. You want to eat, not empty carbs. You want to eat foods that will build the muscle as much as possible, but in such a short amount of time, honestly, there's only so much that you can do towards that. So this isn't like a step up and getting a year off or 2 years off and building the body up to put on an actual 10 pounds of muscle. That is impossible to do in such a quick stint to move up in weight 10 pounds. And for Eubanks Jr. to cut down that 10 pounds, sure, that's going to suck for him if he can make weight, honestly. He's a big guy, and I will say to you that I don't very much care for the way that Eubanks is handling this fight. He is the bigger guy. He's favored to win in the fight, right? So basically, that's all fair. That may be fair, but you never want to look past your opponents. You never want to, to be saying things like, "Oh, it's a walk in the park on a summer's day." It sounds good, but if he just said things in a trash talking sort of manner, it's to just go in one ear and out the other, because that is the business of boxing. And you're trying to express your confidence about things, but he's over there just on video, eating KFC, eating burgers, eating whatever, and he's the guy who has to cut down 10 pounds, for God's sakes. And he says, I'm going to train 60%. He's saying a lot of these things. They're all stacked on top of each other, and it starts to become a picture that I don't necessarily like for him. I think that's a way out, to say, oh yeah, I'm just going to not train so much, so that in the end, I mean, what if Conor Benn wins, and he's going to say, yeah, I should have taken him more serious and trained a little. That's a built-in excuse. So I don't like that. I don't like that aspect of what he's saying. But also, and very importantly, if he does make the weight, it will drain him a bit. But like I said, I actually think this will be a lot harder for Conor Benn because of the size discrepancy. Because of also, it's not a size discrepancy where two fighters equal talent. Hey, look at this. But there was a little size discrepancy, so let's go with this guy. No, Eubanks Jr. Now, Conor Benn is the destroyer. He really is. He hits incredibly hard, but not only that, a lot of guys that hit hard may wait to counterpunch, may wait to, like I said before, Conor Benn is a walk you down, bully you mentality. He has been doing that fight after fight after fight. He is a knockout artist at the highest level. He is an up-and-coming welterweight who I am very high on, and I do not necessarily like this fight for him. So I'm going to go ahead and give you my pick here, but I'm going to tell you first, be warned, I'm a little bit biased. I think that it's quite reasonable to pick Eubanks Jr. for the slickness, right? Because he's a lot better of a boxer in general. A lot better of a counterpuncher in general. Good with his defense. And 20 pounds bigger to boot, And I don't place everything on the size, but like I said, when you have that coupled with other things that they have, better ways to win with their boxing ability, it's perfectly normal to go for Eubanks to win this fight. I want to believe in David, in this David and Goliath situation. So I am going to be rooting for Conor Benn, regardless of what I think. But I will tell you, I have a little bit of a reasoning here as to why I really, truly think that Conor Benn actually can pull this off. And that's because with all the slickness that Eubanks has, he does counterpunch good. That is something that Conor Benn's going to have to look out for, especially because Conor Benn tends to lead with the step-in jab. So he steps in, but he doesn't keep his other hand up, so he can get clipped on his way in. It's better for him to use a step-in jab and immediately follow it with the hand behind, but there's a danger of him getting clipped by Eubanks counterpunching. That's for sure. But as far as all the other stuff and his slickness and defense, he is very good, Eubanks, but, I want to be clear here, first off. He's not an elite, right? This isn't a hopeless effort for Conor Benn. Eubanks Jr. is not an elite. He's accomplished good things in the sport, but he's not an elite fighter. He's not a pound-for-pound fighter. This isn't a hopeless effort for Conor Benn to win. He's just a smaller guy. Conor Benn will come with a lot more ferocity, a lot more energy, a lot more passion, and will to win. Flat out, I believe even just the will to win is definitely on the side of Conor Benn, and Eubanks Jr. is more, I think, leaning on the fact that he can box a bit and is bigger, and thinking if he can land on me at all, I can maybe take a punch or two. I don't like that. Also, his slickness and stuff. If you watch a lot of Eubanks, fights, he keeps his hands down a lot. Now, he is able to move his head and get out of the way of a lot of things, and he keeps his hands down to bait in his opponent to throw shots so he can counter them. That's the purpose of doing that. But keeping your hands down by your side with Conor Benn and swaying your head from side to side is not going to be a good look, I don't think. I really can see a very real world here where Conor Benn lands a flush, not only just a flush shot and cracks Eubanks, but also does it while kind of by chance Eubanks is trying to move his head around with his hands down and moves his head directly into something, directly into a punch, which only helps the momentum of the punch. And I truly can see a world where that happens. I believe it's very important. Like, I hold it at a high standard, basically, your will to win. And I am 100% sure that that lies more with Conor Benn than it does with Chris Eubanks, who doesn't, Eubanks Jr. doesn't look to be taking the fight so seriously. Whereas Conor Benn, I think this fight means a lot to him. I think that he knows, and not just him, because it's not just him. He has a team, he has management, he has coaches, and I'm sure that they would have told him, this fight is dangerous because the guy's so much bigger, and we would have never fought this guy if it had not been that your dads had fought and they want to build this fight. He's 20 pounds heavier than you. I wouldn't take this fight. So I believe he's only taken this fight because he pushed for it and said no and told them no, I want this fight, because it means something to him. Whereas Eubanks, I think, is looking at it not like, oh yeah, cool, our dads fought and I'm about it too, but more like Conor Benn is a rising name in the sport. Eubanks has been around a little bit longer than Conor Benn, and now Conor Benn's taking all of the shine and kind of is the rising welterweight and whatnot, and taking advantage of the promotion wants them to fight, has wanted them to fight because their fathers have fought before, and looks at this fight as this could be easy. And I don't think this Conor Benn fight will be easy for Chris Eubanks. I don't. I think that even if Chris Eubanks wins, I think that he gets put through a lot. I think this fight is a bit of a war because one of two things will happen. I promise you that Conor Benn comes out absolutely like a man on fire, like a man possessed, just looking to walk down and launch hard shots at Eubanks. And either Eubanks will continuously do a play it safe game plan, look to counter a little if I can, but let me get my bearings under me. Wow, look at how this guy started the fight with me, and continues that until it's too late and he's lost a lot of rounds, and then has also been hurt by Conor Benn, and then will possibly even get knocked out, or Chris Eubanks will take some of these shots, because he will come out, I believe, not trying to fire off on Conor Benn and playing it safe and go, let me see what you do. We know what Conor Benn will do, and the only other way this can play out maybe is that Chris Eubanks Jr. will oblige him in a war, because he'll say, you know what, man, I can counter you better. You may be able to hit me with some shots, but I'm going to hit you with the ones you don't see, right, while you're throwing your hands wild. And I'm bigger, and I can take a shot as well. And so I'll oblige you in this, and that can favor me. And that's true. So, but that would be what Chris Eubanks would literally need to decide to do. He has a more play it safe style now than he did before. He's not really so much an aggressor. And I wanna see if he'll turn into that. And if we get a good war on Saturday, this will be a DAZN pay-per-view, by the way. And I do think I do think that I'll buy it. I don't like how DAZN's been doing the pay-per-views now because, I mean, they were a platform literally and only built on the, they didn't come in and say, hey, you guys got 3 or 4 of these fucking things. You need another one? They came in as a platform based solely on the fact that they could say, we will not charge you for pay-per-views. We are just a streaming service, and it's cheap to have, and we'll stick in as many good fights as we can possibly make throughout the way, but none of them you will have to pay for. And we'll give you Canelo, and we'll give you AJ, and we'll give you these people that without it being a pay-per-view at all. Katie Taylor, you know. We'll give you these people, and there's no pay-per-view involved in it. But that has changed. Now they do the pay-per-views. The Canelo card looked very good. That didn't play out great. It was one-sided dominant fights, except for the Bam Rodriguez fight. That was a good co-main event. Besides that, the Gabriel Rosado fight, he got dominated. The Canelo Triple G just didn't have a fucking thing to offer him in there. These were just so it didn't play out as good as it looked that it could be, and we'll see what this one delivers. But yeah, I'll be rooting for Conor Benn, and also before we go, I'd like to, or before we get off this topic, I'd like to discuss also another reason of looking at these kind of picks. I'm a guy who doesn't do underdog picks a lot. I tend to lean with favorites, and I like to parlay them, though. I like to have my knowledge and use it well, because you don't make any money off of betting on a minus, 2,000 favorite. So you have to parlay them, and I like having a lot of these guys that I can be confident about, and it tends to work out for me a lot of times. To parlay the favorites. That's my style of gambling, so I'm not a guy that goes into this with what's the underdog we can bet on. But there are times when I really think, this could be the one. In this fight, I would really tell you that if I was to be parlaying favorites, I would be a little uncomfortable with putting Chris Eubanks in it. That's what tells me that, you know what, I wouldn't throw $100 on it or nothing, but maybe like 20, bucks or something on a Conor Benn, because he's going to be the underdog victory. And I haven't seen the odds, but he will be the underdog, and to some extent. And then also if you go Conor Benn by knockout, I bet you're getting some good money back on that. And listen, that would be the way that it would happen. He would, if Conor Benn wins, he would overwhelm Chris Eubanks to the point of no return, and then make Chris Eubanks fight an uncomfortable style that he didn't want to, in a position he never thought he'd be in, and possibly get a stoppage there. That would be kind of the way I would see a Conor Benn victory turning out. So I will go Conor Benn by knockout. Let's not pick the round, just Conor Benn by stoppage is going to get you good money back here. And then we also have Sebastian Fundora fighting on Showtime. That'll be good. So we got some good fights coming up this Saturday. But yeah, when Nigel Benn was fighting, Eubanks back in the day in the 90s and stuff, those fights were good. But Nigel Benn, he got some good cracks in there. Like I said before, that's another important aspect of this thing, though. He didn't set up his shots very well. Nigel Benn was kind of just be in your face, and once you stop throwing, or once I see you, shell up, you're going to go on the back foot for a second, I see your feet moving backwards, I'm just going to launch, a hard right hand at you or something. I think that Conor Benn actually sets up his shots a little bit better. He can't counterpunch very well. He doesn't fight going off the back foot. He's not defensively sound very well. So he has a lot of things to work on because he's young. But I do see a lot of potential in Conor Benn. And he has he has impressed me to the point where I am a fan of him. So I'm biased, but we're going Conor Benn by stoppage. Let's fucking get it. I truly believe that this can happen, and I hope that excites you for this Saturday.